Bernabo was a Genoese merchant, and one day in Paris he was listening to all the other merchants complain about their wives. "My wife, the instant I'm out the door, she's got her lovers in spending my money, and each tale was worse than the last." Finally Bernabo spoke up and said, "You need a wife like mine. My Zineirra, she would never betray me. Sometimes she even does the accounts. I swear she's almost as intelligent as a man." And one of the merchants listening, called Ambrogiuolo, thought, "I don't believe any woman is as virtuous as this," and said, "Bernabo, I will make you a bet. I will bet you 5,000 florins that your wife would be unfaithful to you with me." And Bernabo said, "That's a bet, and you've just lost 5,000 florins. And so Ambrogiuolo left Paris and went to Genoa, and there he quickly found that Zineirra was as virtuous as her husband had thought, and would have nothing to do with him. But he wasn't about to lose 5,000 florins over a woman. So he found an old lady and a large chest, and he paid the old woman to go to Zineirra and said, "Oh, please, my lady, would you look after this trunk just for one night in your bedchamber? Keep it safe." And Zineirra, being kind-hearted, agreed. What harm could there be for a trunk to spend a night in her bedchamber? And so the trunk was brought in, and of course Ambrogiuolo was inside it. And as Zineirra was changing, he lifted the lid, and he saw a birthmark upon Zineirra's thigh. And then when she was asleep, he snuck out and took a belt, so finely made it couldn't be two in the world. And taking it as a token, he went back into the chest, and in the morning the chest was taken out, and Ambrogiuolo got out of it, went back to Paris, and said to Bernabo, Look at the love token your wife gave me. Was it a love token to her, and you owe me 5,000 florins? Bernabo was furious. He paid the 5,000 florins without checking with his wife, even though it ruined him, and then sent a message home to the huntsman to take Zineirra out into the wood and kill her for her infidelity. And the huntsman tried to follow his master's orders, but when Zineirra was on his knees in front of him saying, "What have I done? What have I done?" the huntsman couldn't go through with it. Instead he killed a deer and dipped Zineirra's mantle in it, and that was what he sent back to the angry Bernabo. And Zineirra? Well, she dressed as a man and headed for the port, and there she got the job as a cabin boy upon a ship. And before too long she was running that ship. She was doing the accounts. She was finding the best places to get the best deals in the best markets. And the ship became the richest in the area, and her reputation flourished. So much so that when the ship docked at Alexandria, the Sultan himself, having heard of her reputation, went to the captain and asked that he might have this cabin boy as his employee. Instead, he would pay him handsomely for it. And the captain agreed. And so Zineirra became the right-hand man of the Sultan himself. And this would have been a fine place to end my tale. Except that one day Zineirra was in Acre, as she had to, going around looking at the markets, and upon one of the market stalls she saw the belt. There was no other one like it in the world. She picked it up, and the man behind the stall said, "Ah, you have a fine eye. That belt has quite a tale behind it." And he told the story of how he had got 5,000 florins for Bernabo, who was foolish enough to bet on the honour of his wife. And he was telling the tale to the only person in the whole world who knew it was a lie. But Zineirra bided her time. She befriended Ambrogiuolo, and she went back to the Sultan in Alexandria and said, "My lord, will you agree to have some Italian merchants coming here to your marketplace?" And the Sultan agreed, because all the rest of Zineirra's ideas had been very profitable. And so Zineirra invited Ambrogiuolo and Bernabo and other merchants, and they all came. And she welcomed them and spent time with them, talking with them, getting to know them. And then said, "You must come and meet the Sultan. And so they were brought into the Sultan's fine courtroom. And there, as he sat in full state, she introduced, "This is Bernabo, this is Ambrogiuolo," and she proceeded to tell the tale. Tell the tale of how Ambrogiuolo had cheated and lied and destroyed a woman's honour, destroyed a man's reputation and his business, and then boasted about it in the marketplace. And this was Bernabo, a man who took a stranger's word over his wife's. And he said, both of these are foolish. And Ambrogiuolo tried to deny it, but he was scared into admitting it. And Bernabo fell upon his knees and said, "I was such a fool, I should have believed my wife. I should have known. I will take any punishment you agree." And the Sultan turned to Zineirra and said, "Well, what punishment do you want?" "Well," said Zineirra, "I feel that there is punishment enough in men so foolish that neither of them recognise the woman they wronged." And she revealed herself as Zineirra in front of everyone. The Sultan couldn't believe it. Well, had he known, he'd taken advantage of it. But it was out where everyone gasped. And then Zineirra turned to her husband and said, "I forgive you, because you are genuinely sorry for your fault." And together they went back to Genoa, where Bernabo never doubted his wife's word again. And Ambrogiuolo? Well, he was left in charge of the Sultan, and the Sultan decided he should be tied to a post on a hot desert plain and covered with honey and left for the ants and the animals until he fell down of his own accord. And that was how a dupe outwitted her deceiver.